ahead.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I look forward to delivering a wonderful insight, which can be helpful to everybody who is participating and viewing it later.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. So,
So
Ketki,
let's
let's
start.
start, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. It's my great pleasure to welcome Advocate Satya Mule, who is a dedicated lawyer known for standing up for the rights of everyday citizens. He's the senior lawyer, writer, social activist, and change maker practicing at Mumbai High Court and Supreme Court. He has a master's degree in corporate and constitutional law from Pune University and CCJ from Oxford University. He has done his MBA in marketing and finance also from University of Mumbai. He is a first rank holder in economics at graduation level, and he takes a keen interest in legal and corporate subjects. He is the founder of Satya Mule and Company and a senior legal expert with wide experience in civil, criminal, family, and constitutional law. What makes his work truly inspiring is his strong focus on public interest issues, whether it is fighting for access to roads, water, bridges, or other basic rights. He is not only a committed lawyer but also a writer, social activist, and a change maker who believes in making the law work for the people. His efforts to promote gender justice and legal awareness have touched many lives, and we are honored to hear from him today. Today's topic is From Legal Awareness to Gender Justice, Navigating the Indian Legal Landscape for Women. Over to you, Satya sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ketki. It is a wonderful occasion to speak about this sensitive topic today. And it's a very wide topic. It starts from pre-independence era, and we have seen major changes in legal awareness as well as legislation uh, right up till 2025, and more is to come. More is there for future. Well,
Yes.
to look at this topic of uh, legal awareness to gender justice, uh, I would first want to touch upon what is not gender justice, so that we can try and negatively, eliminate what is not gender justice. So there are some points which are a misconception in the society,
Hmm.
specifically when we are talking about India. There are subjects such as, we need to clarify the confusion first. So, what is not gender justice? Gender justice is not abandoning our rich culture and tradition. It does not mean that we blindly embrace the West. It does not mean wearing certain type of clothes. It does not mean trying to behave or act like a man. It does not mean competing with another genders. What it actually means, in simple words, that it means allowing a woman to compete with herself and allow her to bring out her best and provide all the necessary ingredients for the same, which will mean including laws, socio-economic and cultural environment, and whatever it takes to enable her to be her best at par with other genders. Well, it is a known fact that men, women, and other genders are biologically different. India has seen a lot of it. We have started with the subjects such as child marriage. We have seen sati. We have seen dowry deaths. We will not want to go into the details of all these topics
Hmm.
as of now. Okay. However, justice, when we talk about gender justice, it will not be served until and unless those who, in brackets, men who are unaffected, are as outraged as those who are.
Okay.
This was said none other than Benjamin Franklin. Well, what happens is gender justice in India is deeply layered evolution from the shackles of social orthodoxy in pre-independent society to today's attempts to secure constitutional guarantees of equality. When we say this, we have to go through the journey of a woman, an Indian woman, from being a downtrodden and deprived entity in Indian society towards claiming her rights and holding the institutions accountable. So, we embark now upon exploring certain legislative, executive, and judicial branches, which has shaped the Indian legal framework on gender justice and also take the opportunity to examine certain judgments delivered by Supreme Court, such as Triple Talaq, Sabrimala judgment, and so on and so forth. Okay, and try to understand the struggles the Indian woman per se has encountered while arriving on the scene. If we have to say she has arrived on the scene today in the year 2025. So, what is gender justice? Gender justice refers to the fair and equitable treatment of women or per se individuals of all genders, ensuring that rights, responsibilities, and opportunities are not determined by whether a person is born male, female, or belongs to any other gender identity. It aims to eliminate gender based discrimination, correct historical injustices such as sati and so on and so forth, and create an environment where every woman can live with dignity, freedom, and equality. So, when we go deeper into these concepts, we have to understand what equality before law means. Even today, an Indian woman fears to enter a police station, fears to enter a public transport in a crowded place, so and so forth. However, regardless of gender, a woman must be provided an environment of equality before law, regardless of whatever the situation may be. She should have equal access to education, employment, and healthcare. She should have equal pay for equal work, equal representation in public and political life. Well, if we are talking about equal representation in public and political life, very recently we have seen that the parliament has promised 33% reservation for women in the parliament from the next delimitation that will happen in future post the census that is expected to happen in India. Now, gender justice also includes freedom from gender based violence. We all see, even today in 2025, across the world, even in modern societies, developed societies, or developing countries like India, Brazil, China, South Africa, domestic violence, sexual harassment, and trafficking are still a big problem, a huge problem. And working at sexual harassment at workplace is also a big issue. 95% people who face this kind of situations, they face this kind of situations from people known to them. They are either their co-workers, they are probably their neighbors, probably their seniors, or so and so forth. So we have to ensure that access to legal remedies and support systems like counseling and legal aid remedies and so on and so forth are made more accessible to females. Recognition of differences. One new area that is emerging, which is less talked about these days, but has emerged in 2025, is that across the world there is a kind of treatment that is being evolved for women, taking into consideration various affirmative actions in context to achieving gender justice. So there have been examples of a third gender, or even for that matter, males trying to identify themselves as females, either by undergoing various surgeries or by various other orientations. However, this particular subject has now started creating a lot of chaos in certain countries because these entities are now trying to seek the benefits which women are entitled to in those countries. And
Correct.
what we are talking about is a very strange case which was not envisaged by the lawmakers of various countries in the past. But the situation has come that these kind of examples have started emerging, and this kind of example has emerged in a country like United Kingdom, a place like in United Kingdom. So
Correct.
we have to ensure that the differences between various genders are appropriately recognized, and they have to be treated accordingly while affirmative actions are being taken by the respective governments or the respective organizations.
Correct. Correct.
We also have to look at what kind of equality we are talking about. So it goes from formal equality, like, just by merely saying everybody should be treated equally. We have to, work towards removing the social and institutional barriers. So we
Hmm.
have to move towards substantive equality
Hmm.
that prevent, various barriers that prevent women and gender minorities from enjoying their rights equally. Now, what happens is there have been various reforms in a country like India, which has seen, ancient times. We have seen the British era, pre-independence era, then we have seen the post-independent era. So
Correct.
here it is very apt to borrow and refer a proverb, which is basically an African proverb, but has got a very wide ramifications to the topic that we are discussing today. It says that educate a man and you educate an individual, but educate a woman and you educate a family.
Correct.
This has been expanded by various socio-political leaders across the world, and it goes on to say, educate a woman and you educate a community, or perhaps you educate a nation. So the seeds of legal reform or gender justice, were sown even before India became republic. The concepts of sati, widow's remarriage, or age of consent, all these concepts, when Britishers came, they never wanted to touch our personal laws or customs or traditions. However, they did realize that there must be some amount of sensitivity shown, is required to be shown towards the deprived situation of women in India. Therefore, these kind of actions were taken. So, Child Marriage Restraint Act came into place even before independence. Widows Remarriage Act came as early as 1856. The Sati
Okay.
regulation came as early as 1829. Then we have seen, moving fast forward in the era where we had to fight for our independence, we have seen that because of various affirmative actions which Britishers took at that point of time, such as in the areas of education and so on and so forth, as well as various, publications and various other actions, the Indian ladies started embarking upon receiving education. They became aware about their rights. At the same time, they started participating in the freedom struggle. So during the independence movement, there was an organization called All India Women's Conference, which exclusively considered women as their members, and they fought for independence shoulder to shoulder with all other male leaders.
Okay.
While doing this, they also recognized that gender justice was one of the subjects while they were fighting for independence of India. They wanted to bring to the forefront that the gender justice subject should also be carried forward. Now, moving ahead, we all know after independence, we have our all beloved constitution in place, Constitution of India, which explicitly talks about certain provisions about implementing equality in various spheres of life. Article 14, equality before law. Article 15.1 speaks about prohibits discrimination on the grounds of gender. 15.3 allows special provisions for women and children. That means it allows and empowers the government to take affirmative action for the upliftment. When we are talking about upliftment, it need not necessarily mean that it's only targeting the downtrodden. Wherever every woman is today, it if it is requiring her to be uplifted to bring out her best, that particular affirmative action has to come into picture. It may be in the context of various affirmative actions and policies which are in place for girl child, for women who are working, or for that matter, women who are aspiring to work in spheres which were so far restricted only for male domain so far. So equality of opportunity in public environment is public employment is there in Article 16. Further, directive principles, Article 39 states that the state has to ensure equal pay for equal work, protect women's health and strength. So, yes, apart from constitutions, there has been various act of legislations which specifically brought out certain aspects which led to gender justice in India. The Hindu code bills, which codified the Hindu personal laws, talk about rights in marriage, inheritance, and adoption for women. This was a very important step towards empowering women in the marriage institution. Then Dowry Prohibition Act proved a very crucial instrument towards prohibiting this kind of operation resulting from demand of dowry. Well, its implementation is a question mark today. We see cases across the nation even in year 2025, and
Yes.
therefore law being in place is not a solution. However, its implementation has to also be there in place. Equal Remuneration Act 1976, one interesting example I would like to cite here. Although this particular act is in place, it was just only in 2022 the BCCI has recognized that the women cricket players should receive equal remuneration, that is, fees, for their performance as compared to the male cricket players. So it took since 1976 from the enactment of Equal Remuneration Act till year 2022 for this particular thing to be enacted in the sphere of sports and in an organization like BCCI. It's very surprising as how India is lagging behind in terms of implementing the laws that are in place, which actually serve to bring out the purpose, what they were meant to be enacted for. However, the judiciary has gone one step ahead. While interpreting various provisions of law, such as Article 15, in Air India versus Nargis Mirza, it was held by Supreme Court that a woman crew member in an airline, only because of her pregnancy, being terminated was unlawful and violative and was against gender justice. In Anuj Garg versus Hotel Association of India in 2008, it was held by Supreme Court that barring women from working in establishments where liquor is served, such a curious case was found to be unlawful. It was found to be against gender justice, and it was found that such an action to bar women from working in a place where liquor is served was so patriarchal and stereotype and full of discrimination. We all know about the judgment of Visakha versus State of Rajasthan.
Correct.
1997, a particular woman, a NGO worker, was gang raped while she was trying to prohibit a child marriage. But what is very important for everybody to know is that it took almost 16 to 17 years post this particular judgment when Supreme Court gave the guidelines in 1997. Post this judgment, 16 to 17 years were consumed for the national legislature to bring out the POSH Act. Yes, certain amount of time is required for research and putting down the right words. However, this amount of what we can say delay is unjustifiable, unpardonable, and the people of this nation look more proactive legislation and legislature in future. Now we'll move on to modern developments and expanding horizons of gender justice. When we talk about modern developments, we still unfortunately have to talk about certain age old concepts. This is the stark reality or dark reality of Indian woman in today's world. 2017 was the year when Shaira Bano versus Union of India talked about the triple talaq issue. Well, we are not going into any religious practices here, but definitely this particular subject was completely against gender justice. It was held that it violated Article 14, that is of equality, and 15, and also Article 21, which is right to live with dignity. So the outcome was finally Parliament was forced to enact Muslim Women Protection of Rights on Marriage Act 2019, criminalizing triple talaq. So here we can see very interestingly so far about the cases that we have discussed. There was a very vivid and clear lack of political will in this nation to work towards gender justice. Since independence, it took almost 60 years, 65 years for the parliament to recognize that it has a very important role to play and deliver towards the masses of this nation affirmative actions, not just in terms of policies, but also in terms of laws, which will help this population to achieve gender justice. It was every time the judiciary who had to put a foot forward, give directions to the parliament, the legislature, or whether it is the state legislature or the national legislature, give them a nudge, and then only they move towards enacting certain legislations which were beneficial for women, irrespective of caste and religion. Well, this is a very sorrow state when we talk about political will. They are not, the political class is not willing to touch upon sensitive subjects like this just to protect their vote banks. And this is not helping the subject of gender justice in a country like India, which is so diverse and full of various religions and castes. Sabrimala case is one again such a case where till 2018 women between the age of 10 and 50 were banned till 2018 in this particular temple. It was alleged that menstruating woman entering temple pollutes the holy environment. Finally, the judiciary had to step in, and the outcome was that temple had to open entry to all women, regardless of whether they are menstruating or which age they belong to, and which religious practices they aligned with, and so on and so forth. Apart from this, yes, we all have seen that India takes part in various international agreements, various conventions, and so on and so forth. There have been various certain agreements in place which are committed to eliminate discrimination against women in all spheres. It has significantly influenced the policies and legal reforms related to women's rights. It has worked towards, it has in fact brought the subject of gender justice and blended it with the subject of sustainable development goals, which is a very important aspect. So, this particular blend aims to achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls, okay, and try to steer India's effort towards gender parity and women's empowerment while achieving its own development. This is a very interesting blend. India is also part to the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action, which was adopted in 1995. Global Agenda for Gender Equality influence India's policy, fostering initiatives for women's empowerment in various domains. Well, what happened is, once again, we have to go into detail of the case that we talked about. What is a woman? When we are talking about gender justice, when we are in a world where LGBTQ rights are there, transgender rights are there, gender reassignment procedures have been recognized as legal. On April 16, 2025, it's just 2-3 months ago, this question came up in front of United Kingdom Supreme Court. Okay, the question again was the law related with equality. The Equality Act in United Kingdom, which had the definition just as woman. It didn't elaborate what woman is. And all the laws were revolving regarding woman had a question mark as to who is a woman. So for the first time in what we can say legal history, on April 16, 2025, the United Kingdom Supreme Court unanimously ruled that interpreting the terms woman and gender under the Equality Act of 2010 shall refer strictly to biological sex assigned at the time of birth, and no other entity can claim to be as woman even by gender reassignment or, for that matter, personal identification. Now, why these issues came up? Because there have been elements in this society always who try to encroach upon each other's rights or try to pollute environment in context to affirmative actions in context to women or for that matter children or for that matter aged and so on and so forth. So we have seen this kind of confusing situations coming forward, and I am very much sure that the years between 2025 and 2035, the legal landscape is going to see a lot of various subjects which shall lead to clarifying concepts when we move ahead for touching subjects such as rights of women in live-in relationships, rights of women in leadership positions, and rights of or role of women in political sphere, role of women in armed forces, role of women in employment where physical labor is required. So this next 10 years, why I'm saying next 10 years is because the era of 2000 to 2025 has been recognized as the era of technology and information. The women equally have become empowered with information and knowledge due to access to internet, as well as gadgets have come to everybody's hands these days. And girls, women, working women, housewives, all equally are having access to information and knowledge which they source from all across the world. They are very much educated as compared to men or any other gender. Now, once they have become empowered with knowledge and information, the next 10 years are bound to throw us challenges in context to clarification of concepts which we just discussed. Feminism has been a concept that has been around for quite some time. So, when we talk about feminism, we have to be also be clear that feminism isn't just about making women stronger. Women are already strong. It's about changing the way the world perceives that strength. It's not about trying to give something which she doesn't have. She has everything in her. It's just about changing the way she looks at herself at the same time the world looks at herself. So, in that context, fortunately, since last 10 years or so, the government of India has enacted and implemented certain policies and initiatives, such as Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, since 2015, a campaign against female feticide and to promote girl child education. Maternity Benefit Act 2017 has been amended. It increased the maternity leave from 12 weeks to 26 weeks, which is a very, very needy legislation, a required legislation, in fact, we can say. When we go to the sector of segment of women which are a little bit underprivileged, Ujjwala scheme has provided gas connections to women below poverty line, enhancing their health and dignity, made their life easier. Further, when women have to be considered in political spheres, then the reservation for women in local governance is already in place. 33% of reservation is there in Panchayat Raj institutions as well as municipalities. This is going to get increased to 50% in some states. It is already increased by now in some states. 106th constitutional amendment talks about, basically it is known as Women's Reservation Bill, talks about promising 33% reservation for women in parliament and state legislatures after the next delimitation. Now, if we have to sum up certain aspects, Women in India have come from Sati to Wing Commander Vyomika Singh and Colonel Sophia Qureshi. We have seen both these smart, empowered lady officers of Air Force as well as military force, armed force, delivering briefings about the Operation Sindoor very recently. So we have come a very long way. It's not that all is very dark and a lot has to be achieved. Yes, a lot has been achieved, but still a lot must be achieved. What happens is we have been able to see wonderful examples in recent past. Squadron leader Avni Chaturvedi is India's first fighter female pilot to fly solo in 2018. Group Captain Shaliza Dhami became the first woman to command a combat flying unit in 2023. So we have started seeing the fruits of gender justice related affirmative actions in India. Well, in Babita Punia case, the Supreme Court in 2020 allowed permanent commission of women officers in army. So the judiciary has taken the lead and nudged the parliament, both of them since last 10 to 12 or rather than last 10 to 15 years have very proactively enlarged the scope of the concept of gender justice, enlarged the canvas that was available to the women to get educated, learn, perform, and deliver, and spread their wings broader by every passing decade. When we are talking about all these restricted sectors or what we can say as public sectors and so on and so forth, corporate sector has been in the forefront where most of the ladies who may be the audience today belong to. We have delivered startling and most dynamic leaders in corporate worlds across the world. Indian women, I will restrict myself to Indian women leaders in corporate world who are based in India, not who have gone to other countries, changed their nationalities and so on and so forth. If we see Falguni Nair, who launched Nykaa. Nykaa is a recent revolution. It's a beauty brand, personal care brand. She has been able to deliver what she has been able to deliver only because of various ingredients of gender justice falling in place in this nation, equality coming to her doorsteps in true sense. Of course, her background, her upbringing, education has also played a great role in that. Roshni Nader Malhotra of HCL is another example. Kiran Muzumdar Shah of Biocon is another example, who are the CEOs of leading billion-dollar enterprises. Women now hold significant positions in public sector units, private MNCs, and independent as an independent entrepreneurs. In public office, we just cannot close this particular discussion without having reference to India's first tribal woman president, that is Draupadi Murmu. Well, soft spoken as she is, but the intelligence of Draupadi Murmu, our own president, reflected when using the Article 143, she made a reference to the Supreme Court in recent past, that is just almost 45 days ago, to the Supreme Court, challenging the judicial acumen behind a particular judgment that was related to Tamil Nadu governor's case. Now, having said this, this will lead to refining the democratic structure, the constitutional interpretation of various provisions of law, and will improve the Indian democracy. So, right at the helm, Draupadi Murmu has infused this question in the judiciary, and this will lead to a very, very good outcome in near future. Several women serve as chief ministers, high court and Supreme Court judges, IAS officers, IPS officers. In sports, PV Sindhu, Mary Kom, and so many gems have come up in India. Once again, I refer to that BCCI subject of 2022. It's a very landmark turn in context to equal remuneration. Well, it's not all that beautiful. We have to also talk about what are the challenges. It's not that women, when they seek justice, they demand something material. They do not demand something as help. People have to understand that when women seek justice, they demand the world to be more humane. They demand the world to be more equal. They demand the world to be more just and fair. That's all what the women demand. However, not all the elements in the society, when we talk about India, have that kind of approach towards the concepts of gender justice or, for that matter, societal balance. India is a nation which still faces stigma and still faces dark issues such as rapes, dowry deaths, and domestic violence in a very large scale. Nirbhaya case is not something which we can easily forget. It was not 50 years ago. It was just in 2012, like 13 years ago. That was a major case when a young woman in Delhi was gang raped in a bus, which led to, you know, the legislature eventually uh, broadening the definitions of rape, sexual assault, and introduced death penalty in the rarest cases in context to rape. Dowry deaths and domestic violence has brought forward various sensitive subjects which I mentioned shall demand clarification from the legal world in the next decade, such as the subjects of consent. When we talk about marital rape, Dowry Prohibition Act and so acts are already in place. But just in 2023, one NCRB data shows that India has faced 6,500 dowry deaths, which is an alarming figure. Dowry deaths are till today happening in urban places also, such as Pune, Mumbai, Delhi, Indore, Bangalore, and incidents in rural areas unfortunately go unreported also. Domestic abuse cases surged particularly during COVID-19 lockdowns, proving laws are required to be more stronger and the enforcement has to be more practical to bring about the social change. Cyber and workplace harassment is a subject that came along with the growth of number of women participating and contributing in workplace since last 4 decades or so. Women are increasingly vulnerable to cyberbullying, image-based abuse, and online stalking. Since 2024, with the use of artificial intelligence, this particular problem has become more and more dangerous, where various colleagues or students' images are being used to portray them in various unacceptable acts and forms using the artificial intelligence technology. The social media has become the new crossroads in this world. That's where people meet, exchange images, videos, thoughts, and scripts. And women, unfortunately, have become target of various crimes on this crossroads. Despite the POSH Act being in place, sexual harassment persists at workplaces with poor grievance redressal systems. The victims are unfortunately not encouraged to come forward. trying to protect the bigger brand of the company, of the corporate or the organization, than the dignity of the victim. There is a barter that happens which is completely illegal, and the voices of the victim are suppressed. This particular thing needs to be changed, and it shall change with more and more legal awareness that is slowly and steadily increasing in India. So, the road ahead for achieving transformative gender justice shall include breaking the bias and ending the silence. It cannot happen that the laws continue to be man made for women. It cannot be that laws continue to be in the favor of men and still are called as being biased against men. Why is it that women are made to be allowed to enter into a matrimonial arrangement at the age of 18 and male child at the age of 21? Biological discrimination or differentiation does exist, but taking advantage of this 18, a lot of female childs are married off at the age of 18 itself. The age of puberty was different concept at the time when this age of consent was defined. Today things have evolved and this needs to be relooked upon. So while India has moved from formal equality to substantive equality, we must strive for transformative equality also. So it will mean that not just legal parity, but actual socio-economic empowerment. There are certain reforms that must come in place. Implementation and monitoring of women-centric laws needs certain regulatory framework. There is a complete absence of a regulatory framework for monitoring the implementation of these laws. Legal education and training, not just for general women, but also for police and judiciary is required. It's only since the Nirbhaya case, in this country, it was decided that the female victim's name shall not become public. It took so long for the nation to understand this sensitive subject. Increased representation of women in judiciary, politics, and corporate boards is the need of the hour. There is an urgent need of campaigns to change the patriarchal mindsets and not just the laws. By changing the laws, we can change the text, but the mindsets have to change. Gender justice in India has come a long way from prohibiting sati to allowing women to become fighter pilots, from denying temple entry to upholding constitutional morality. So we have come a very long way, yet the battle is far from over. Legal awareness is a powerful tool. Every woman must know her rights, demanding their enforcement and participate in shaping a society that no longer treats gender as destiny. Our own Chief Justice, who recently retired, Justice Chandrachud, said that the dignity of woman is not a matter of charity, but it is a matter of right. So here, I would like to conclude by saying that gender justice is not a need only for women, but it is a need for a healthy and a progressive society, for a society which aspires to be number 3, number 2, or even number 1 in this world. And if we have to attain the concepts of Vishwaguru and so forth, then the concept of gender justice will have to be implemented on ground with full force, with maximum speed, and all inclusive topics. That's all. I thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, sir. And the forum is open for the questions.
I would like to ask you, thanks for giving all these examples and many of the things which we feel we were not aware so deeply. The thing is, awareness is very less. So, and the kind of delays are happening by the courts. So that is also one thing which the women are feeling they are not confident enough to go to the police station and even the court as well. And the kind of society think about them then when they take such steps. So what do you think how this can be overcome?
This can definitely be a very good question. First of all, I congratulate you to take the lead and ask this question. This is a very pertinent question in context to practical difficulties that women face when they try to seek justice or legal remedies. So, this particular aspect can definitely be overcome by implementation, or we can say further implementation of technology. Very recently, since COVID time, the high courts and the Supreme Court of this nation have come virtual, and the women can appear in their cases sitting from their home or offices and pursue their cases. And from what I understand from various committees which I am part of, at the same time I observe the working of various other committees at Supreme Court and High Court. Maybe in next 3 to 4 years, the hybrid mode, that is virtual hearing, shall be implemented even at district level, at least at prominent districts such as Delhi, Pune, or Indore for that matter. And gradually it will trickle down to rural area in next 7 to 10 years. Having said this, lodging of FIR or going to a police station is gradually going to go away. Virtual police stations are going to come in place. In various countries such as France, Brazil, I'm specifically giving example of Brazil because it is a comparatively developing nation as compared to India, and for that matter also in China. Virtual police stations have come in place. Just the way you are speaking with me, you can have access to a police station by logging into a police station website and speak with a lady officer without going to a police station. This particular mechanism has not yet been publicized in India, but the government is working towards it, and we can see that this shall become a reality in next 4 to 6 years' time.
That would be a very great initiative then, and I feel that it will have a wonderful impact on the thought process of the woman and the challenges they face when they have the right to ask for, but they are not using it just because of all these challenges. And I think definitely it will help us a lot.
Yes,
So
definitely.
we have, Satya sir, we have another question from Dr. Purvi Agarwal. I will read it for you. Why women are not able to reach the system for dowry related abuse? Educated women are not raising their voice.
Well, I will answer this not just as a lawyer, not just as a change maker or a researcher, not just as an author and speaker, but also as a person who has deep roots in his own family, who has a mother, who had a mother, who has a wife, who has 2 daughters and several sisters. What happens is India has a very complex socio-cultural environment. Marriage system is considered as a journey in India and not, although it is called as a contract as per the legal texts. In India, it is assumed and also guided by our elderly mothers and grandmothers to their younger female daughters that there are going to be ups and downs in the marriage system. And the father is to continue to look after the daughter even after the marriage. There is a special bond that the daughter shares with her father and her other entities in her family. This is an age old teaching that a female carries with her even after marriage. And therefore, what happens is, even if there are demands which are illegal, such as dowry in the form of vehicles, gold, cash, or properties, tangible or intangible, people for the sake of family prestige, people for the sake of social status, people for the sake of happiness of their daughter, they end up agreeing to it. And if the daughter is seeing that to some extent the parents are agreeing to it, then the daughter thinks that it's going to be wrong on her part to raise voice against it. I will advise the parents of today's era that they should take a step forward in drawing a line and not marrying their daughters which come along with a package of dowry. They should decline such marriage proposal at the threshold itself. I would say that yes, I have two daughters. I have given them education. I have empowered them with world skills, people skills. I have enabled them to become independent, spread their wings, and grow. I have also explained them the evils of dowry and various other evils that exist in the marriage system. Not all things that are in marriage system are bad, but there are so many positive things. This change has to come from the parents.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Satya sir. We have a second question. The number of divorce cases are up these days. The numbers of years for justice to come is also more. It's not mutually consented. Is there a plan to fast track such cases that are running for years?
So the number of divorce cases are up these days. The number of years for justice to come is also more. It's not mutually consented. Is there a plan to fast track such cases that are running for years? There is a proposal that is under consideration to fast track these cases. Although it will require a legislation to be enacted, it is still at the what we can say at the research stage in the Law Commission, wherein we see that when there is a matrimonial dispute in context to dowry or for that matter any other dispute and a woman wishes to separate, then there are a kind of array of legal cases that are filed by both the parties on each other, such as FIRs are filed, or for that matter dowry cases are filed, domestic violence cases are filed. So a research is in place to put in a system wherein all such cases are clubbed. Instead of they running at various tribunals and forums and courts, all such cases are clubbed and they are dealt by one judicial court and they are fast tracked. Yes, we can say that it will take another 2 to 4 years at least for the Law Commission to come up with something which is tangible. Unfortunately, the status quo shall continue. I would definitely say that the dowry cases have, I would not say have increased, but I can definitely say the high profile dowry cases are coming to the light more and more these days. And that is a very alarming subject, but equally, the rural area or unreported cases also remain alarming.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Satya sir. Any other questions? So I have a question, Satya sir. So we recently had one case which is very famous under Section 498. So what role can young men and families play in breaking this rule?
Young male.
Yeah, young males.
Okay. A young male has to first start to understand, which has not been able to be understood by anybody till date. That is trying to understand how a woman thinks. Even if he starts walking in this direction, the efforts that will fall in place will try to shape his mindset as to how his mother thinks, how his sister thinks, how his wife thinks, how his daughter thinks, and how his colleagues and other female entities in the societies think. The male have to start accepting the fact that he is not living in isolation. He has to think everybody as equal. At the same time, he has to have the reasonable classification in mind that a woman, although deserves and also is entitled of gender justice, she is no weaker entity in the society. It's only that she is a different entity biologically, therefore she requires that different treatment to only that extent. Otherwise, she is no lesser. Apart from this, he has to understand that when he is talking about his wife, then she has to be looked upon as a friend, as a partner in a journey, and not as a stereotyped entity in historical context. Because the freedoms that the male has been enjoying since his early childhood in today's era are also being enjoyed by the female child in today's era. We can say that they are also enjoying access to technology, they are also enjoying access to education, travel, fashion, cosmetics, and for that matter, various other social spheres. So, having said this, the males have to start accepting the fact that she is a partner, she is a friend, and an equal stakeholder in the system of marriage. When he talks about sister, he has to understand that a sister is forever. When it is a
Correct.
daughter, he has to understand he is contributing to the society.
Correct.
When he is educating his daughter, when he is training his daughter, when he is empowering his daughter, when he is providing talent to his daughter, he is helping towards social transformation. He is contributing towards betterment of the society. He
Correct.
should not look at his daughter as somebody who's going to be temporarily in his house to have fun and one day is going to get married and go off. Things have drastically changed, have changed very fast. So, sister cannot be looked upon somebody who can be married off to build some business partnership. Similarly, mother cannot be looked upon somebody who is as somebody only a person who is going to take care of a home. These days, new age mothers, if we talk about my home, they have access to so much technology, they have access to so much of research, they have access to so much of own kind of entities and develop their opinions that they are walking, talking knowledge banks. So every household male should understand that he is surrounded by so much of talent and knowledge banks that if he taps those, his world will be a beautiful place and this entire world also will be a beautiful place.
Correct. Thank you, Satya sir. We will take this last question and we will conclude the session. So we have a question from Sukanya again. Do trans women have laws to inherit properties, etc.?
Yes, trans woman, I would rather say a woman, a man, or any gender, law related with inheritance continues to remain intact.
Okay.
So there are no changes in context to laws related with inheritance. However, laws related with adoption and so forth are still need to be crystallized. Law related with marriage in context to transgenders needs to be crystallized. Otherwise, laws related with transgenders in workplace are already falling in place.
Okay. Thank you so much. With the permission of our president, Ms. Meeta Patil, I would like to conclude the session.
Yes, please. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thanks for your time. And it was a wonderful session indeed. And definitely thanks, Ketki, for bringing sir here for all of us. And we will be in touch with you, sir, if any guidance is required from you. And in real estate as well, we are working towards a lot of things for the women in real estate. So we will surely need your guidance at some part. So thank you so much, and thank you, Ketki, for wonderful moderation.
Thank you so much on behalf of entire Mahi family and from
Thank
the
you.
audience. I would like to say heartful thank you to Satya sir. Thank you so much. Such a nice and wonderful session.
Thank you, Dr. Ketki.
Thank you. Thank you.